Football on the Sports Social Podcast Network is brought to you by BetVictor. Don't like your odds? Enjoy daily bet boosts on your favourite sports and make your best bet now at betvictor.com. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to the 1865 match report as we look back on a dramatic afternoon for Forest at Old Trafford, losing 3-2 to Manchester United after going 2 goals up inside the opening 4 minutes. Taiwo Awoniyi and Willy Boly put Forest 2 goals up and gave them a dream start at Old Trafford, but United came back with goals from Christian Eriksen, Casemiro and a Bruno Fernandes penalty, albeit perhaps a controversial one, as we'll come to talk about later on. It's Stephen here and I've got Tom with me to look back on the game. Just quickly, Tom, sum up your thoughts on Forest's performance and how the afternoon unfolded for them, because 2-0 up, it was dreamland at one point.
Yeah, I think the first 2 away games were quite daunting when the fixtures come out, and Forest have applied themselves really good in the 2 games. I mean, they weren't great in the first half against Arsenal, but second half they were brilliant. And for the majority of the game on Saturday, they were pretty good. I just think sometimes they just need to take care of the ball, and sometimes they make the wrong decisions, etc. But Forest are playing really well away from home so far this season, and I just think that they've come a long way, because last year was going to these places and getting absolutely battered and not even laying a glove on any of these teams. And it's now we're going to these grounds and actually competing, which is a nice change from last season. But unfortunately, we still haven't gotten an away win since the Southampton game early this year.
Yeah, Forest set up with the similar kind of setup that they went with against Arsenal and Sheffield United. So a back 5, 2 in the middle, and then sort of 3 floating around up front. So we had Matt Turner in goal, a back 5 of Serge Aurier, Joe Worrell, Willy Boly, Scott McKenna and Ola Aina. Danilo and Ryan Yates in the midfield with Gibbs White, Johnson and Awoniyi ahead of them. Subs, Ethan Horvath, Nico Williams, Chet Kouyaté, Chris Wood, Moussa Niakhaté, Anthony Elanga, Remo Freuler, the new signing Gonzalo Montiel and Hwang Ui-jo. So Forest, I think, lined up in a way that we expected them to. It's that 5 at the back, which seems to be Cooper's preferred setup at the moment. And it was, an improved away performance, and particularly given how Forest performed at Old Trafford last season, a much better performance than what they produced there. And we'll get straight into the action early on, Tom. So early on, it was Matt Turner had a save to make. He palmed the ball wide from a shot from Anthony in the opening 90 seconds. And then from the corner, Forest break, and Morgan Gibbs White gets his head onto the ball as it's cleared. It's a bouncing ball. Marcus Rashford is going for it, but Taiwo Awoniyi sprints and beats Rashford to the ball, and he's still on goal and slots it past Onana. He almost looks as if he takes too long with it, but I think he sets himself to almost shift Onana down and then slot the ball past him. And in doing so, becomes the first Forest player to score in 7 consecutive Premier League matches. And this was inside 2 minutes, Tom, and this was an unbelievable start for Forest.
Yeah, and when Taiwo was running from the halfway line and he went past Rashford, I can't remember who the other player was. Obviously, it would have been one of the defenders. And I just knew he was going to score. And when he got into the box, he was like, is he gonna pull the trigger? And then he's put Onana on his backside and slotted it into the corner where Onana has got a touch on it. And I think he's just going to set himself, because he knew Rashford was on his tail. So it was a cracking start. And Taiwo Awoniyi, he's been absolutely brilliant since the last few games of last season, where he was in that rich vein of form. and he's just took it into this season, and he's as important as like your likes of Brennan Johnson and Morgan Gibbs-White. And if you look around the teams in a similar position to Forest, not many of them have got like a striker what you can absolutely rely on. Whereas we got Taiwo, and like I says, he was very raw this time last year when he joined the club. But I think they've worked really hard on him, which I've mentioned in previous podcasts, and he's becoming an absolute weapon in terms of keeping us away from the drop zone. Because and I think he's all-round game has improved massively since he joined from Union Berlin last summer.
And I said in a previous podcast, I feel like he's really grown into that number 9 role since he's come to Forest. And certainly since he came back from injury at the back end of last season, he's really developed more of a presence and a confidence in his play. And to score in 7 consecutive Premier League matches is no mean feat. And it gave Forest the perfect start, which they then doubled. Just 2 minutes later, a free kick down the right-hand side from Morgan Gibbs-White. He curled it in, and Willy Boly steered it into the corner past Onana. It almost comes as a bit of a surprise when you look at the footage back. It's almost like how's the ball ended up there? But Boly does well to steer the ball into the net, and 2-0 up at Old Trafford inside 4 minutes. It was just an unbelievable moment, wasn't it?
It was, and I think it's near enough 27 years to the day since Alfie Haaland scored first for us back in the 96-97 season, but that only lasted 18 minutes, and Man U won 4-1 that day. But yeah, it was nice to actually score at Old Trafford, because last year it was like 10-0 on aggregate if you include the cup games. And like I mentioned earlier, that we didn't mention lay a glove on him, and yeah, it was nice to get the 2 goals. But it's kind of you look at the clock in the far corner towards the Stretford end, and only 4 minutes have gone, and you're thinking, what's going to happen in this game? Because the last time I was in a similar situation to that was at Villa Park in 2018, and that ended up 5-5. You just didn't know which way the game was going to go. But yeah, it was. I don't want to be negative or anything like that, but you look at the clock and you're thinking, bloody hell, there's a long way to go, and at Old Trafford, and as we'll mention as this pod goes on, obviously there was a lot more to happen in the game.
And at that point, United came out and tried to get back into the match, as you probably would expect when they're going 2-0 down at home. The goal for them, their first goal, came on 17 minutes. It was Bruno Fernandes. He had a shot from 25 yards. It was parried away by Matt Turner, but the ball comes to Marcus Rashford. He drills it low from that left-hand side, and Christian Eriksen steals in and prods the ball into the roof of the net for 2-1. And you start to think, well, this could potentially turn the game. And actually, Forest did okay, didn't they? They in that first half, they were under pressure, which I think is to be expected away at Old Trafford, but they dealt with it well. They were looking to defend stoutly, and they got to half time at least 2-1 up. The chance though that Forest did have to extend their lead came not long before the break. I think Casemiro before that had missed a chance for 2-2. A corner bounced across the box all the way through to him and got his head on it, but it glanced wide when really a flush contact would have made it 2-2 and the ball in the back of the net. But Brennan Johnson got away down the right. He sprinted past Dalot and Eriksen, squared the ball back to Morgan Gibbs-White, but his goal-bound effort was blocked by Awoniyi. Now, if that goes in, that makes it 3-1, and Forest go into the break with a 2-goal advantage. You do wonder, one, had United not scored their goal, but two, had Forest got that one in, how different the second half might have played out, Tom.
Yeah, you would like to think so, wouldn't you? And there was another chance before where I think it was Gibbs-White. He tried to play it. I can't remember if it was Awoniyi or Johnson. He's got down Man United's right Man United's left our right, and he's pulled it back. But I think he's tried to pull it back, but he's like he should have like played it sooner. So I think it's Dallo or Varane just closed the angle down, and obviously it went out for a corner. But I'm like thinking if you just put that ball in a bit earlier, and then again we could have been 4-1 up at half time, and it wasn't to be. And it's like it was just one of those, wasn't it? You just keep it tight because we've got this tendency, and it happened last season from the 46th minute to the 52nd minute. We've let a huge amount of goals in that period. I think it happened against Fulham last season at home, Bournemouth, etc.
Yeah.
And it happened against Sheffield United last Friday night. And it's just like, just keeping focused in that early, because if we're like a goal up or whatever, then obviously the teams are going to come out and try to catch us on the back foot kind of thing. And yeah, I think we just need to focus a bit more when we come out for the second half. But yeah, you just know it was going to be a long second half because obviously it was only winning 2-1, and you just know that they were going to throw a lot our way. And so yeah, it's just going to be a long second half, unfortunately, without sounding negative, because like I says, it was a brilliant first half performance from Forest.
So in that second half, it did play out as we expected. We thought United were going to come at Forest and put the pressure on, and they did. And 52 minutes in, they got their equaliser. They had a free kick down the right-hand side, right channel. Bruno Fernandes drills it across the front of the penalty area. It's Marcus Rashford who dinks the ball in. Fernandes runs to the back post. Forest push out, but Casemiro's down on the deck after the initial free kick. He then gets up. Fernandes finds him by nodding the ball across goal, and he's in front of the 6-yard box with the goal at his mercy near enough. He controls it and prods it past Turner, and it's 2-2. Now, yeah, I'm watching it. I'm thinking, well, yes, it's not offside. For the rules are the rules and the phases of play, but Casemiro gets a big advantage by being able to stand basically in front of the goal and be in that position. But Forest have to be aware of that, don't they? They've got to defend better and know that players are going to be in those positions.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was Brennan Johnson who was like the one who didn't push up with the rest of the defensive line, and he got left in there. And obviously, he's onside at that point. So when it got played across, then obviously the ball's gone backwards. So he's still technically onside, but it's not like it's a strange one. But Casemiro is in the goal. He's got to influence in some play because Turner knows he's there because he's right in the middle of the goal. So, and then he just gets up, and then so you're coming back from an offside position, even though the ball's played back. I know the rules are there, but surely he's influencing play. But again, Steve Cooper mentioned it in the post-match press conference, is that the VAR decisions were made too quickly without probably a full analyst of who's where and everything. And again, it's like I says, we've got ourselves blame in terms of Johnson probably like caught napping on the back post in terms of like keeping everybody on side. But yeah, Casemiro, he has had a massive influence and a massive advantage in the equaliser. Hence, he's scored, but he's in the middle of the goal, isn't he? So Turner's got to know he's there. And when he comes out, no one's going to obviously pick him up because everybody's obviously on the penalty spot or beyond. But unfortunately, yeah, it is what it is, and it's 2-2.
And then Forest were forced into a change, 3 or 4 minutes after that goal. Scott McKenna came off and Moussa Niakate replaced him. And yeah, the match carried on with that similar thread of United pushing forward. They'd got the momentum now by this point, having equalised. And the big turning point from Forest's point of view comes, 67 minutes? A ball play forward. I think it's one of the United centre halves who plays the ball forward quickly. It catches Forest out. It's just coming in between and round the back of Joe Worrell and Willy Boly. Bruno Fernandes is chasing the ball. There's a coming together between him and Worrell is shown the red card for a foul. He's deemed to be the last man in that situation. And Forest are down to 10 men. Now, did you agree with the red card, Tom? Or when you look back over the incident, can you make a case for Boly covering and Matt Turner coming out as goal? So it's not a clear-cut goal-scoring opportunity that's definitely going to lead to Bruno getting on the end of the ball.
Unfortunately not. In real time, I thought, this might go to VAR and there might be a covering defender which will bail Joe out here. But having watched Match of the Day and the extended highlights on YouTube from Forest's YouTube channel, is the reason why Boly looks like he's on the cover because Fernandes and Worrell have hit the deck. So the ball's technically dead and obviously everything's slowed up. And then Boly's momentum's come round. So by the time the whistle gets blown, he looks like he's the covering defender. But if you look at it real time, I don't think Boly's getting there. And unfortunately, the rules state that it is a sending off. Having said that, I think if you brought him down in the penalty box and a penalty was given, then I think it's the double jeopardy rule where it would have only been a yellow card for Joe, because obviously the penalty's been given. But unfortunately, I think he's just got a head start on Joe, and Joe's potentially panicked and tried to look like he's slipped or whatever, but no, he's got a grab hold of his shorts. And even though I can't stand Bruno Fernandes, I think he's the most mardiest, petulant crybaby in the Premier League. And he's in the referee's ear all game. And he's absolutely he's not
he's not a likable character, is he? When you see how he behaves sometimes.
No, it's one of the hateful. Well, I think he is the most hateful player in the Premier League. When you watch how he conducts himself, he's meant to be Man United's captain and everything, and he's always crying about something. And then obviously his comments in the Tottenham game regarding John Moss's influence on matters. He's just not a very likable player to be against. But unfortunately, I can't see but Willy Boly getting round in time. So unfortunately for Joe, it's going to be 3 matches out.
I thought it was a little bit harsh on Joe. I thought a yellow card was enough with Turner and Boly coming round, but I can see it both ways, to be fair. And if it was Rashford getting on the end of the ball, I'd be more inclined to say yes, he's definitely going to get there, and it's a red. Yeah. But it's one of those, and it's a decision which at Old Trafford you're not really going to get as an away team. Let's be honest.
No, you're not. It's been like it for years, hasn't it? You've got to have everything aligned to get anything at Old Trafford and more. And like I says, I mentioned it on Twitter. I don't think Stuart Atwell should be anywhere near the professional game because controversy follows him around like wildfire. I mean, he gave us that ghost goal, didn't he, in 2008 when Reading played Watford.
Yeah,
he had our game in 2008 when it just went into a circus, didn't it, in terms of against Derby at Pride Park when a penalty was given, then a goal was scored and he disallowed it and all of that, and McGugan got sent off. Then obviously we had controversy a couple of years ago when we played Bournemouth and was trying to get automatic promotion when was it the offside or the penalty, or I can't remember what the decision was, but
on Sam Surridge.
Yeah, so I just don't think he's fit for purpose, really. But it's like what's been the topic in the last week. If you got friends in high places, then obviously you're going to get the jobs, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, it was not the end of the controversy in this game. Let's put it that way. And 76 minutes, United were awarded a penalty. Marcus Rashford had the ball, left-hand side of the penalty area. He's up against Danilo. He goes down and a penalty's given. Now, when you look at the incident back, there is contact from Danilo, but he's pulling his leg away. He's not trying to make a challenge at that point. But Rashford, I think Rashford initiates the contact and makes the most of it and goes down. And I think it's a poor decision because, especially when you've got VAR as well, that's able to go back and watch the footage and look at the context of the incident. But the problem with VAR is it slows things down and it makes contact look a lot worse than what it is. And in that situation, it's obvious. You can see Danilo's pulling away. He's not trying to make a tackle. He's not trying to get in Rashford's way. Rashford feels that contact and throws himself over in an unnatural way. And the penalty's given. It goes to VAR, but the decision is upheld. And I was left a bit confused by that because VAR should be looking at incidents like that and it should be able to say, actually, no, Rashford's ran into Danilo and it shouldn't be a penalty. Again, it feels like a bias where you're away at Old Trafford and you're not going to get that kind of decision go your way, but that doesn't make it right. What do you think, Tom?
I agree. I think VAR is there to protect the top six. I mean, look what happened a couple of weeks ago when Wolves played. They had cause for an absolute stonewall penalty. It wasn't given. And you look at it and thinking, why are some decisions given to like the top clubs than us towards like mid-table to the bottom? You don't get anything. And it's always been the same at Old Trafford. You don't get a lot. I mean, in the 90s, for our older listeners, I think they didn't give away a penalty at Old Trafford for 4 years because whether the referees were like scared of not giving anything, because obviously with the ref of Alex Ferguson in the tab and everything, nothing gets given at Old Trafford. And but if you're the opponents, when you look back on the decision, yeah, what's Danilo meant to do is when he's defending, there's going to be some kind of a bit of contact because he's defending. He's up against Rashford. He's going to get close to him. What does Danilo do? Run away and let Rashford have a free shot at goal or cross it because he might go down. So because when you're that close to someone and he hasn't, if he's like that put a leg out and obviously got his ankle or something, then yeah, it's a stonewall penalty and you've got no arguments. But he pulls his leg away. But the thing is, though, I don't know whether it went to VAR, but the decision from the penalty given to the actual penalty being taken, it's like on VAR, it's like analyze it, etc., etc. This one was like the decision was like done really quickly, and I'm thinking, well, that's a bit strange for VAR because the game was at 2-2 at that point, and they're just like, oh yeah, Rashford's gone down, we'll give a penalty because it's Man United. And it's just like, if you're giving that one, you've got to give the one when Lindelof puts two hands in Boly's back.
Yeah.
But that's the level, that's what annoys fans, well, up and down the country, that the inconsistency levels are just, they're just all over the place. There's no consistency. It's like, how can you give that one it's got to be the same contact. If you're giving that one, you've got to give that one. It's the same type of contact, but like I said, you don't get much when you go to these top six clubs and there's a VAR call to make. But I've always been of the opinion if former players are not willing to referee a game on the field, get them in the VAR room. They've played the game. They know the rules because obviously they'll have workshops at the start of the season for any rule changes. So they will know the rules. Get them in the VAR room to give calls like that because they've played the game. They know how the ball bounces and how the run of the ball, etc. Because they're quite good at giving it on Sky Sports in the studio every week or on Talk Sport or Match of the Day. So if you're going to do that, why don't you actually be big enough and say, look, let's have professional players or ex-pros in the VAR room assisting these referees, because these referees have never played the game at a professional level. I'll be an advocate of having former players in the VAR room for these calls, because, like I says, it's happening week in, week out. The inconsistency levels it's the best league in the world with potentially the best technology, but the humans who are who are controlling it are not fit for a purpose because they've never played the game.
And it is just creating an infuriating sense of inconsistency. You mentioned the decision that Wolves didn't get at Old Trafford the other week, where Onana basically cleans out one of the Wolves attackers and nothing's given. Far more contact than Danilo on Rashford, and there's far more contact at the other end a few minutes later on Boly. So, yeah, it just, people are now starting to think, you know what, that certain teams are benefiting from decisions here. There is a big six bias, and it does feel like there's something bigger at play here.
And another case in point, yesterday, Jamie Carragher says on Sky Sports, Van Dijk shouldn't have got sent off because there was no guarantees of Alexander Isak scoring the goal. It's like, how do you come to that conclusion? You know what I mean? And it's just like they've got like an agenda, whether if they're benefiting from VAR or whatever. Some people are saying like really strange things, and it's like, and like you say, the top six are benefiting, and then if the top six get a decision they don't like, they're saying that VAR is not fit for purpose. It's like, well, it's all right when it's going for you, which is 9 times out of 10 it does. But that one time where it doesn't go for you, you're moaning about it. But like the teams that like mid-table towards the bottom hardly get those decisions. So there's huge inconsistencies in the level of what gets given with VAR.
As it was, the penalty was given, and Bruno Fernandes converted it to make it 3-2 to United. And Forest responded, made a couple of changes. Anthony Elanga and Chris Wood came on for Danilo and Awoniyi with about 10 minutes to go. Forest put some pressure on United in the closing stages. Some long throws from Ola Aina were causing problems, and Niakate too. And it was one of these long throws that led to this incident involving Willy Boly, where it looks like he's shoved over by a United defender in the penalty box. He goes down, he gets up actually, and the ball drops to him again, and he hits an instinctive shot volley that goes towards the top corner, but Onana flies across goal and makes a really good save. But when you look at the level of contact that Danilo has with Marcus Rashford, you've got to look at that and think, well, how on earth have Forest not been given a penalty there? Because you set a precedent for how much contact results in a penalty with the Rashford decision. Boly's shoved over in the box and nothing doing.
Yeah, but the thing is though, were the opponents attacking the Stratford end towards the end of the game? You're not getting the penalty, are you? So
No.
you mean you probably, even if like GBH was committed in the box on one of our players in the 90th minute at Old Trafford when we were in a goal down, we're not getting it, are we? Unfortunately,
No.
so.
But I think you put those Forest incidents, those Man United incidents, put them at the other end. I don't think Forest get a penalty in the way that United did. Clearly, they didn't with the Boly one.
Yeah.
I'd wager that perhaps a Man United defender, if it was a United defender instead of Worrell, would have probably got a booking instead of a red card. All of these things seem to add up, and there were a few poor decisions throughout the game.
Yeah, and I don't want to come across as like we are sour grapes and everything. And United fans will probably, if there's any listening to this, will come back at us and says, well, you were the ones who surrendered a 2-goal lead and this, that and the other. And it's like, well, yeah, we did. But if you put the decisions, what was against us in isolation, you'd be aggrieved. So,
yeah.
So, but like I said at the start of this pod, we've come huge way from going to these places last year, and like we were just turning up for a day trip, wasn't we? In terms of the players into like the tribe, but it just wasn't enough. Um, so um, so it's nice to actually compete at these places, and we'll go again on Wednesday against Burnley in the cup, and then Chelsea next week at Stamford Bridge.
We do, yes, and I think you're right there. If it was last season and we were 3-0 down and well out of the game, we probably wouldn't be as bothered by the odd poor decision or something not quite going our way. But when we were so in the game and so close to getting something, it certainly is that little bit more galling when these things don't go for you. So 3-2 it finished to Man United, and Forest beaten again on the road this season after the opening day defeat at Arsenal. We'll have a break now at this point and we'll hand over to Callum for the news roundup. So it's over to Callum.
Hello, this is Callum with the 1865 news. I hope you're all well. So we said last week that there's a lot that can happen in the space of a week in the transfer window, and to be honest, recently it was more of a 24-hour spurt. But I'll go through the week from the last update. So, in terms of incomings and rumours on incomings, we'll start with. It looks like Dean Henderson could be closer to Crystal Palace than Nottingham Forest at the moment, based on how long it's taken with Man United and the injury sort of stuff and the Matt Turner incoming. We're still in there, it seems, up to now, but we also seem to be interested in a goalkeeper that Man United are also interested in, the Benfica goalkeeper. I'll probably butcher this, but it looks like Odysseus Vlachodimos. So it does look like we're still after a goalkeeper, whether that's maybe a backup for Turner. He has been given the number 1 shirt, so it still seems a bit up in the air in terms of goalkeepers. In terms of left backs, it sounds like left back's still a priority, which is what we've heard recently. There was rumours of Acuna from Sevilla, but he has an injury, and that kind of cut his move to Aston Villa. So I think it might be a non-starter. There is a link to Zaidu Sanisu at Porto for €15 million. And this has all come a little bit off of the back of Nuno Tavares being off and considering other options. It sounds like there was a £30 million price tag there, which makes sense to kind of to swerve away from. Murillo looks like he's really close in the centre-back position for €15 million altogether with add-ons, which is really exciting. We got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, so that should be close to being done. And then Callum Hudson-Odoi as well for £8 million. It seems like Fulham have pulled out and other teams may be interested, we've heard, but we've also heard that Forest have a free run at the move as well. So that'll probably develop next week. We'll have to keep an eye out on that one, but that's another exciting one in the forward positions. We were in talks with Nicolas Dominguez. I'm not too sure if that's been affected by the fact that we have signed Andre Santos on loan from Chelsea. So we have got that midfield position kind of booked. I'm not sure if that affects the 6 with Sangare, Felipe Luis and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the talks with Dominguez seemed to it was a bit up and then it went a bit down after the Andre Santos news. We have signed Gonzalo Montiel as well from Sevilla for £9.5 million, right back, World Cup winner. So we've had Andre Santos and Montiel both confirmed this week. In terms of outgoings, it sounds like Leeds are opening talks with Lewis O'Brien. We haven't really had much movement on the Brennan situation, but it kind of seems like it's more likely Spurs that you would go to than Chelsea at the moment now, seeing as Chelsea may have cooled off a little bit and Spurs are still in there. We've had Freuler to Bologna as a rumour recently, so that might be sort of in with the Nicolas Dominguez news, but it seems like either way, Freuler would be going there, whether Dominguez moved or not. And then confirmed outgoings, we've had Omar Richards to Olympiacos on loan, so good luck to him there. Hopefully see him on the grass this season. Draga to Basel permanently, and Tyrese Forner to Derby permanently as well. And then outside of transfer news, we've had Felipe, who announced that he played through injury for us at the end end of last season, and he's in the final stages of recovery at the moment. So I'm being recorded right now before the Manchester United game. We may see him on the bench. I doubt it, to be honest, but hopefully he'll be back at some point soon. And then congratulations to Serge Aurier as well, who was in the Premier League Team of the Week for the official Premier League and for who scored as well after his 2 assists last week against Sheffield United. Thank you very much, and I'll be back again with the news soon. Take care.
NFL Sunday Ticket is now on YouTube and YouTube TV, which means that it just got easier to be an NFL fan, even if you live far away. Like maybe you like the Bears, but you're hibernating in Panthers territory. But with NFL Sunday Ticket, your out-of-market team is never more than a short distance away. Specifically, the distance from you to your remote control. NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. Go to youtube.com/presale to get $50 off.
Terms and embargoes apply. Offer ends 9/19. No refund. Subscription auto renews.
The 1865 Match Report.
Thanks, Callum, for the news roundup. And let's bring it back to Forest's next couple of fixtures this week. So they're playing Burnley first off in the League Cup on Wednesday. And that's followed by a trip to Chelsea back in the league on Saturday. Another tricky away day early on in the season for Forest, as we know. But quickly just coming back to Burnley as well. Given the difficulty of Forest's away fixtures, a home tie against Burnley in the Cup feels like one that's very winnable for them, and one where they can at least get a bit of confidence back after the away defeats they've suffered so far.
Yeah, I watched Burnley on Match of the Day last night, and they alluded to the fact that they do commit a lot of men forward, and then Villa did them on the counter-attack. So if we have the likes of Alanga possibly starting, and I think he will go with a strong side because Steve Cooper will want that. He wants the players to actually gel and get better with these league games coming up with Chelsea on Saturday. Then after the international break, we've got Burnley again. So I think he'll want to get a settled team. Wall, I don't think he'll. I think he's going to be banned, isn't he? I think it does carry on into the League Cup. So
yeah,
I don't think he will be playing. And I don't know if Andre Santos can play. In terms of, I don't know if he's allowed to play in cup matches. I think he will be because it's a season-long loan, isn't it? So
yeah,
hopefully we'll get to see him play. Alanga will hopefully start. I think Chris Wood might start against his former club and give Awoniyi a bit of a rest because obviously he's been a bit touch and go in terms of his fitness because he had a bit of a stop-start pre-season. But I think Steve Cooper will go with a strongish side just to get minutes in the legs, etc., and probably the odd change. But I think it's going to be a decent game on Wednesday because we're at home and everything. I don't know if it's going to be a sellout, but I think we can get at Burnley because, like I says, they commit a lot of men forward and they're susceptible on the counter attack, which we are absolutely geared up well to obviously punish that. So hopefully we can get a win at home and obviously go on to the game on Saturday against Chelsea, where we got to all of there last year. They've improved under Poch. I mean, it was a convincing win on Friday against Luton, and I don't think the game previous to that against West Ham, I don't think I think the scoreline flattered West Ham. I think Chelsea played quite well in the game and just they didn't take the chances and West Ham did. So it'd be nice to get something like a point. I'll take a point now because we obviously got a point there last season, and I know we've got Man City in the next few weeks, but we've got Burnley after the international break. So I think we've coped quite well with this tricky start. Competed pretty well in it. Just put us in good stead for the rest of the season when we go to other away grounds and we can show that we can compete against the best. So hopefully we'll pick up a few wins on the road this season compared to last season.
Absolutely. And it's a busy week as well, with the transfer deadline coming up on Friday, the 1st of September. So, yes, 2 games for Forest to come, the deadline day as well. And we will be back with you with our match report after the Burnley Cup match. So thank you for joining us, listener. Thanks to Tom as well. And thanks to Callum for the news roundup. And yes, we will be back with you after the Burnley game. So until then, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Social Podcast Network.
It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit, because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at PenFed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payers' funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.